Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. I was blind, but now I see. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace that kept me safe thus far, and grace will bring me home. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was Yes, ladies and gentlemen. I was 16 years old. And I still remember that day. A day when I lost my voice, and with it, all my dreams washed down the tube, just like that. Good evening. Hello. Fellow TED speakers, friends, faculty, students, everybody. My topic today is symphonic chaos. It's funny, you know, when we're children, we're so innocent. And why are we innocent? Because we think life is perfect. We're always going to get that piece of chocolate. We're always going to get somebody to pick us up and comfort us. And someone to tell us it's okay. And as you grow older, suddenly the pieces start getting a bit disjointed. So what is a symphony? What is a symphony? A symphony is a masterpiece where beautiful tones and sounds and instruments and voices and music all blend. But you know, I really wish life could be like that. I wish life could be like a symphony. But it isn't, is it? Certainly in my case, it wasn't so at all. So I'm going to take you back again to that terrible year when I lost my voice. But alongside it, I'm going to also be telling you about 3 milestones that empowered me, inspired me, and taught me to become who I am today. So this evening is a journey of sharing with each and every one of you. So let's go back to 16. Let's go back to a few years earlier than that. See, I come from a very humble working class family, you know, and I remember there wasn't enough of anything. There wasn't enough electricity, there wasn't enough food, there were never enough clothes to be passed within the 3 of us, brothers and sisters. There just never was enough. But my parents were resigned to this fact. Everything was an acceptance. It's okay. It's okay. But you see, I was the odd one out. It wasn't okay. I started getting restless, shall we say. I said, is this it? This is the sub-cheese of my life? No way. Now, my mother, who was a teacher in Nainital, This was all happening in Delhi, by the way. My mother was a teacher in Nainital, and she would come down to see us all, because by now I was in my first or second year of college. And whenever she had a little bit of money, she would take us to see movies. Or we could go to the lending library and read comics or books. And it suddenly dawned on me that all these wonderful people that I was hearing and reading and talking about and seeing them, they did have one thing in common. They had a skill. Merlin the magician could snap his fingers and whoops, fantastic magical things would appear. Peter Pan had decided he was never going to grow old. Spider-Man could fly. Okay, so now what? They had a skill. So that means if I have a skill, I started joining the dots. So I realized then, because we come from a music family, what am I worried about? I can sing. So I started singing. I'd sing everywhere. In the bathroom, under the bed, in the kitchen, and whoever was prepared to listen to me. And one day I caught a cold. The cold became a cough. The cough became serious breathlessness. My throat started to expand. My mother was now in Nainital, gone back to school. And I remember I was just lifeless, And my dad took me to a dispensary. I mean, there was no question of going to a hospital, So he took me to the local dispensary, and these guys looked at me and said, "This is serious. She has something called quinsy, which is a suffocation of the lungs. And if you do not take her to a hospital, this kid's going to die." Guess what my dad did? My dear dad. He brings me home and says, "This is God's wish." What? No way, man. I haven't even gotten started. And for a while there were all these thoughts going through my mind. By then my mother came back. Her term in school had got over, the summer holidays or something. And she again whisked me off to the dispensary. And she says, "Can we do something with her? Because we have been told she's going to die." So this is exactly what happened. It was like a chamber of horrors. He took this little instrument and stuck it down my throat. And suddenly all my illness poured out. There was terrible pain. I almost blacked out. I came home, and I'm going to try and keep this story short. The illness went, the swelling went, the cough went, the cold went, and I wasn't going to die. I was alive. Yay! I was alive. But when I tried to talk, nothing happened. I had no voice. Back we went to the dispensary. My mother said, "What's happened?" He said, "Well, there's good news and there's bad news. The good news is we've saved your daughter's life. The bad news is we've damaged her vocal cords, and she's going to be dumb for the rest of her life." What? No, not happening. I came back. I looked up at God. I said, "What? I'm not prepared to settle for this." And so what I started doing, I started pushing my voice. I just started pushing and pushing and pushing. And one day, after a few months, I got a little sound through my nostril. I thought at that time, this is what ventriloquists do, but I was not planning a career change. I didn't want to be a ventriloquist. I wanted to be a singer. I had no intention of talking through my nose. So I kept pushing, and I pushed, and I pushed, and I huffed, and I puffed, and I blew destiny down, and I got my voice back. So I get my voice back, start reteaching myself to sing, and then it was time to discover my dreams, at least try and go and search whether there are any dreams out there and whether the universe has a place for me. So off I went to Bombay, as we called it then. Very nice name, Bombay. So I came to Bombay, and I have to tell you, life was lovely. No horror stories. Singing, albums, projects, stage productions. That one up there, the government wanted me to perform for a huge athletic meet called the Asian Track and Field. So I just asked, I said, who's the audience? They said 75,000. What? 75,000 people. Where is this event going to be held? In the stadium. My God. I said, and what do I do? They said, oh, we just want you to sing a song. It's okay. So I went to the stadium and I found that if I stood in the stadium, I was so tiny, nobody could see me. I mean, this is a stadium, and there I am like a little full stop. So we thought. And anyway, so I had a great team with me. So we designed this amazing event. And we found a truck with a what was it called? A forklift truck, which when you pressed a button, it went whoom, all the way to the top. How symbolic, na? All the way to the top. So we disguised this truck, and obviously I couldn't stand on top of a little cubicle, so we had this whole dress made with, in those days, those cinema halls had these curtains, where you pressed a button and all these things went up. So pretty much like that. As this thing went up, this dress came down. We found there were two problems. One, I was scared of heights. We're looking at about 65 feet up here. So number one, I was scared of heights. Number two, when you're up 65 feet in a little box, you have no control over gravity, So if you push, you could topple over. So I suggested, somebody, you're going to be horrified when I tell you this, but this is just between you and me. I got two guys to sit under my dress and hold on to my legs. Now, in my life, there's always been good news and bad news. So the good news was they were holding on to my legs. The bad news is I was ticklish. I told these guys, listen guys, we got to talk. We got to settle this. If you so much as move your finger, if you go from here to here, I am going to die. I am going to die. So I have to say, my two little boys were there holding on to me under the dress. Can everybody see it? So there I was with these people holding on to the little cubicle I was anyway. So it was great, and there were albums. I was living out of a suitcase. I was living in and out of planes. At that time, somewhere along the line, I had brought my mother back to live with me because it was, I wanted to get her out of our circumstances. Daddy by then had left us, abandoned us, and married somebody else. But Mama was with us. But I had no time to meet her. I was just rushing. In my mind, I was kind of sorted because I said, you know what, it's for Mummy and me and my younger brother and sister. But I didn't really spend quality time with her. And sadly, milestone number 2, my mother slipped into a coma and she passed away. I still suffer from an unrequited emptiness as far as my mom is concerned. And so my earnest request to all of you is, please, as cliche as this sounds, tell your parents you love them. Appreciate them. Say thank you. Say please. Say sorry. Do whatever you have to do. Because you see, we're all so busy growing up. We forget that our parents are growing old. And this was the lesson that I learned. It was a very serious lesson. Most of the things I could rectify in my life. This one I couldn't. And so I'm just sharing it with you. Don't make the mistake that I did. Well, the third milestone in my life was finally adventures, misadventures, blah, blah, blah. Life was great. And I just had so much inside me. I had this other voice inside me longing to get out of me. So I decided to teach. I opened up a parallel setup to teach anybody, kids, teenagers, elder people, younger people, not so young people. Not because I had the answers, but because I still had a lot of questions. And I found in my life that every time I've asked a question, the universe has answered back. So I urge all of you, don't be in a rush to find answers, but by God, run that relay to ask, and question. And I'd like to conclude by just running through the word chaos. So what do we have here? Number C, cherish. A young man asked a Guruji, he says, Guruji, everybody talks about miracles. Is there any such thing like a miracle? And the Guruji said, of course. Amazing miracles. So this boy says, you're serious? You mean you've experienced a miracle? And the Guruji said, ya betcha. So the boy said, name one miracle. And the Guruji said, the biggest miracle that I have encountered is that last night I went to sleep and this morning I woke up. What an awesome miracle. Do you agree with me? We slept, don't know what happened, but mysteriously, defying science and genetics, we've all woken up. And my friends, that is the biggest miracle of our lives. And Guruji said, after that, I touch my head, my shoulder, my chest, my hips and say, everything's okay. So that's a great miracle. So cherish the miracle of life. Not everybody gets it. We are the chosen few. Number 2, H, happiness. All these miracles are free. Happiness. We should all stay in happy mood, and I'm not even actually, honestly, between you and me, I'm not even telling you that. I'm telling myself that, because you know what? I'm still a work in progress. I am nowhere near perfect. So the more I tell you, the more I'm listening. Happiness. I was shooting with my daughter, and there was a little waiter in a little town, and he comes to us and says, what would you like to eat? We said, well, we'd like a soup and a salad and blah, blah, blah. He says, wonderful, bringing it back in 20 minutes. My daughter says, Mom, is this for real? I said, let's call him back again. Maybe we're imagining. So we call him back. We say, excuse me, can you get us 2 fresh lime soda sweet? 2 fresh lime soda sweet? Coming up. You know, this guy had such a high life condition. It was awesome. And A, be alert. Guys, there's opportunity around the corner. I'll never forget, General Patton he had his guns trained to the north with all his soldiers because the enemy was coming from there. And a corporal comes running to him and says, General, we've made a huge mistake. The enemy is not in the front. They're at the back. And General Patton, without the blink of an eyelash, says, wonderful, we will attack from all sides. So be alert, be prepared. Oh, opportunities. The funny thing about opportunities is that they come disguised. The perfect opportunity is not the perfect shape or the perfect amount in coming to you and saying, I am an opportunity. It will come as a disguise. So you need to listen to signs in the universe. Somebody tells you, I read a fantastic book. It changed me. Read it. Somebody said, I went to this amazing university. Look at that. Listen to signs. Read. You will get the signs. And when you're aware, you will be able to recognize that opportunities come to you disguised. They're not obstacles. Don't get mistaken. Obstacles they don't require your attention. Obstacles are just pebbles along the road and they need to be kicked aside immediately. Obstacles are the unwanted guests at our party. They are uninvited guests. Do not respect them. Obstacles are to be pushed aside so that you move on. And finally, S. S, my friends, is a bit of an important alphabet because, we live in so much noise. S is for absolutely. We don't have enough silence. If we have silence, Twitter, Instagram, SMS, email, why? How is the universe going to talk to you if you're so busy talking to somebody else? Think about that. So take a moment through the day, take an hour, take half an hour, to just be silent. And you will find that yes, life is adventurous, it's flawed, there are jagged pieces that are chaotic. They don't quite blend together. But if you cherish, if you're happy, if you're alert, and if you recognize the opportunity in silence, you will find that in that maddening chaos, all of you will find symphony. Thank you.